only cry those times, and though I'll make mistakes, I'll never break your heart. I swear, by the moon and the stars in the sky, I'll be there. I swear, like the shadow that's by your side, I'll be there. Or tell you the words till death do us part. I'll love you forever.
Hey everybody, so I was just doing this video in particular to explain where we're at. I know we have mentioned that he's going to need another procedure, so I just kind of want to go into what that procedure entails, what it's supposed to do for him, all that jazz, and tell you when it's going to be, and yeah. So watch and find out. So he is going to get what's called a balloon angioplasty. He's already had one after his original surgery because his aorta started to narrow again. And I'm going to show you what that kind of looks like. So I printed out this picture, and you can see that this is the aorta, and it has the coarctation, which means it's narrowing, which restricts the blood flow. So that's pretty much what he has. That's kind of why he keeps needing procedures. And the point of the balloon would be to keep it open, but he has a little mind of his own, his keeps closing or narrowing, not closing, because if it was closing, we would have a big problem, because it can lead to heart failure, which is, it mainly leads to heart failure because the heart is pumping so hard to get the blood flow through because it's narrow. I'm sorry, I totally lost my train of thought. So that's what happens. So with the balloon, what happens is they don't call it a surgery, it's a procedure in their cath lab. So they go through his groin area, and they take a catheter, and they go all the way up, which you can see here. They go up into the aorta where it's narrow. They inflate a balloon, which opens up the coarc, and then they take the balloon out, and that's what it looks like. So that's kind of just what they do. Ideally, it would stay open, but like I said, his keeps narrowing. And how we know that is we go to the cardiologist every 2 weeks, and they do an EKG and they do an echo. So if you're not familiar with what those are, the EKG is pictures of his heart through stickers. So pretty much they put a bunch of stickers all over his chest, and I'll post a picture of what he looks like with that. And those, it checks the rhythm, it checks to see if there's any poor blood flow, which is what we would mostly see with him, would be not as good blood flow because of the coarc. So I'll stop and show you a picture of what that looks like. So in that picture, you could see that I'm giving him his pacifier, and that's because for an EKG, they have to sit very still for us to get a clear heart rate, like the heart rhythm. So trying to get a 6-month-old to sit still is a little tricky, but we do our best. And usually the pacifier will work, or the nurse doing it will distract him and play with him. So that's kind of what we do there. And then, so after he gets the EKG, they take his blood pressure, they take his oxygen, just to make sure everything's good. We haven't had any problems with that. He does get blood pressure medication every day. And then we go into another room for an echo. So with the echo, it's a sonogram. So just like when you're pregnant, they put a sonogram on. So they sonogram his little chest, and that will show them the heart, like the whole heart. So it'll show the size, it'll show the structure, it'll show any movement. So the doctor can check for blood flow there as well. So it's kind of like a 2-in-1 with doing the EKG and the echo. And from there, they can see a picture of the blood flow. They turn it to a color, and you can see the blood going through the aorta. And so we always see a little bit of a narrowing, just because when they did the balloon last time, it wasn't perfect. And that was mostly because his heart is so little, because he's so little. So we knew that having another procedure was going to happen eventually. With that said, me and TJ both weren't expecting it to be so soon. I had asked the doctor, I was like, hey, like, I know we've said that he's going to need this, but is there a time frame? And he's like, 6 months. And I was like, oh, okay, so 6 months from when he got it, which was in December. And he's like, no, and he's 6 months old. And I was like, oh. And he was turning 6 months old the very next week. So that was a little hard to hear. I wasn't mentally and emotionally prepared for that, but I feel like you're never really mentally or emotionally ready to hear that your baby's going to have to go back under anesthesia for another procedure, especially on their heart. That is the major function in their body. So it's scary. But like I said, this is a very minimal procedure. I'll go ahead and show you where they put it in. If you can put your leg down, buddy. Put your leg down. If you can see, he has a little, it looks like a roll, but there's actually a little scar right there, and that is where they went in for his last ballooning. So that's where they go. It's not super invasive. The recovery time, if he was an adult or even a teenager, it would be considered an outpatient procedure. For him, he will be staying over in the hospital one night, hopefully just one night, as long as he doesn't decide he needs longer, which he shouldn't. Sometimes he has a harder time coming out of anesthesia, and he just takes a little bit longer to wake up, which is fine, but his procedure is going to be April 16th, and it's at 11 a.m., so he should have no problem with getting off anesthesia and then getting home the next day sometime. So that is a big plus. It's going to be very weird not having my baby home one night. I might just stay in the hospital because it is only one night, so we will see on that. I wrote down some things that I wanted to explain, which I think I've done almost all of them. So where are we going in the future, as is a lot of questions that I get. We don't know. A lot of it depends on his heart and what happens. So ideally, he will not need another one of these, but most likely he will. And if it still keeps closing a lot or narrowing a lot, we will end up doing a stent when he's about 5 or 6. If you're not familiar with a heart stent, they go in, they kind of have the same, you talking? Are we talking about you? They go in through the same kind of setup. They go in with a balloon, but when they inflate the balloon, it gives out this metal mesh tube, and that will hold it open a lot more than just inflating and kind of letting it deflate over time. So a metal stent is more permanent, but it's something where if he gets one at 5 or 6 years old, he's still going to be little. And so eventually he will need a bigger one, maybe when he's a teenager or when he's in his 20s. Like I said, we don't know. There's a lot of unknowns with this, not really with this diagnosis necessarily, but just it's his heart that makes the decision. So we get a lot of questions asking, how long is he going to need it? How many times is he going to need this done? And we don't know. We don't know. But we love him so much. So much. And he is a really happy baby. And so we are just so happy to be his parents and to love on him every day and tell him how special he is. Even if he does cost a lot of money. Yeah, you got that on money and a lot of headache. So yeah, that's kind of where we are. And if you have any other questions, if I left something out, which probably did because I don't remember everything either half the time, just let us know. We don't mind explaining things. I don't mind answering questions. I feel like it's important to share his journey, and I feel like it's important for people to understand more about heart conditions. He only has one, and compared to other things I've heard, his is pretty minor, but it's very common. So I think it's important for people to know. So thank you for watching. Say thank you for watching. All right. Thank you so much.